the most influential attacking snooker player of all time, or another player held in high regard due to nostalgia bias? Just how good was Stephen Hendry? Stephen Hendry's breakbuilding was simply world class. He was a master at opening the balls up by playing aggressive cannons, such as the popular blue into the pink shot or the spotted black stun, which would scatter the reds everywhere. He was the sport's first truly prolific breakbuilder, becoming the first player to make more than 10 centuries in a single world championship at the Crucible in 1995. Hendry's love for potting balls and attacking snooker made him dominate the 1990s due to his breakbuilding. His aggressive and relentless scoring was unmatched until the late 90s, and this simply drove his opponents into corners that they couldn't get out of. His century per season graph makes for eye-watering reading, especially when you consider that when Hendry made 53 centuries in a single season, there were less than half of the events on the calendar than there is now. When we compare Hendry's breakbuilding statistics per frames played, we can see that Hendry made a 50 plus break every 2.77 frames. That is slightly below Ronnie O'Sullivan with 2.43 and Judd Trump with 2.52, but is ahead of players such as John Higgins, Neil Robertson and Mark Selby, showing that Hendry was definitely one of the best breakbuilders ever. There aren't readily available stats for me to pull a summary from, but by using the eye test and watching a lot of Hendry's footage back, it is obvious that in his prime, Hendry was a world-class long potter. His trademark was crunching in a long red and making a frame-winning contribution off the back of it, putting severe pressure on his opponent's break-off shot and general safety play. Although Hendry didn't possess massive amounts of cue power, his technique was so good and precise that he was able to generate a lot of spin and pace after striking the cue ball, meaning he had a wide range of shots in his armoury to use when potting long balls. I think there is a common misconception that Stephen Hendry was a poor safety player, which is probably assumed due to Hendry's own opinion of his shortcomings, twinned with the fact he was such an attacking player. However, after careful consideration and review of a lot of his play, I can confidently say that although not a world-class tactical player, Hendry was definitely adequate in this area. I think one of the issues for Hendry was his impatience. He seldom wished to play a match that was of slow pace, and therefore he was more likely to push the boat out than say Steve Davis or John Higgins in a tactical frame. Davis and Higgins can win frames ugly. Hendry rarely did this. However, Hendry would not have won 36 ranking events, 7 world titles, and been world number 1 for 8 seasons of his career without possessing a competent safety game. I think his general weakness is that he did not play tactical frames with the due care you need to excel in this area, but why would he when he knew how good his attacking game was? Hey guys, I hope you're liking this video. I'm trying to go a bit deeper into the tactical and technical side of snooker. I will continue to make a wide range of videos, but if you're liking this content, smash the like button and subscribe if you're new. Stephen Hendry possessed generational levels of temperament. His bottle under pressure was unparalleled during the 1990s, and his shot selection did not change, and in actual fact I'd argue it became more aggressive the more important the frames became. The shot during the 1992 World Championship final against Jimmy White is a case in point. Hendry was trailing 14-9 and had this shot on the brown. If he missed, he would go into the interval 15-9 down. He potted it to go into the interval just 14-10 down, and ended up winning the next 8 frames to win 18-14. There is no argument about his temperament. Stephen Hendry during his prime was a match for everyone. Here are a few of his head-to-head records against his direct peers. Hendry 21-30 O'Sullivan, drawn 5. Hendry 45-20 against Davis, drawn 2. Hendry 19-all with Higgins, drawn 3. Hendry 19-18 with Williams, drawn 4. Hendry 37-19 with White, drawn 5. Hendry 6-4 Hunter, and Hendry 25-17 with Doherty, drawn 1. As you can see, he performed strongly against most, trailing O'Sullivan but holding at least 50% records against his other peers. The one caveat that I would include here is that Hendry's prime came slightly before the likes of O'Sullivan, Higgins and Williams, and so his decline in the mid to late 2000s definitely could skew this data. It is obvious that Hendry is one of the most important players in snooker history. He is undoubtedly the most important attacking player ever, influencing masses of modern snooker players both professional and amateur. His long potting, breakbuilding and temperament meant that he was a world-class player for over 20 years, winning 7 world titles and a huge number of other events. His tactical game was strong, albeit not world-class, and his overall technical ability during his prime was in the top percentile of snooker players in my opinion. His weaknesses are that his technique suffered massively throughout his career. It is well documented that Hendry suffered from the yips, but I'd also add that the amount of coaching he had during his time as a snooker player may have coached his natural ability out of his game. Think Jack Grealish at Manchester City for example. His decline was sharp, By the late 2000s to early 2010s, he was a shadow of his former self, and his inability to adapt his game meant that he quickly became a player who was just making up the numbers. I truly believe that with the help of a sports psychologist and an open mind regarding changing his playing style, and Stephen Hendry could still be playing today at a relatively high level. So here is his overall ranking. I gave him 9.5 out of 10 for his break building. I think Ronnie and Judd would get 10 out of 10 in this area. His long potting, 9 out of 10. Tactical play, 7 out of 10. Very solid, not quite world class. His temperament, 10 out of 10. And head to heads, 8.5 out of 10, giving him a total of 44 out of 50. And this is the brackets that I'm making for these videos. I will be making more of these in the future. If you get 42 or more, you're generational. You're one of the GOATs, you're one of the greatest players of all time. All the way down to 33 and below. So at his peak then, Stephen Hendry was generational, and is rightly considered one of the GOATs. In my eyes, the praise he gets is rightly deserved. With context, his dominance was unmatched, his influence and style was revolutionary, but his reign and longevity at the absolute top was shorter than some others. What do you think? One of the GOATs, or overhyped compared to today's stars? Let me know in the comments.